Not to sound dramatic, but Pinterest literally changed my life. And in today's YouTube episode, I'm going to share with you my journey from being an elementary teacher that was once passionate but essentially burnt out, barely being able to make ends meet, to becoming a thriving multi-six-figure business owner working on Pinterest and now coaching students. So it has been quite the whirlwind, and we're just going to dive right in. So it all started back in 2017 when at the time I was teaching, and I was also about due with my first child. Prior to that year, I had taught kindergarten for 3 years, and in 2017, I actually had moved up to teach second grade. And part of the reason why I moved grade levels was because I actually was going to be working with a co-teacher. So there were 2 teachers in the classroom, and that part was really nice because since there was consistency in the classroom, when I had that baby, I was actually going down to part-time hours. So instead of working the traditional 5 days a week, I was going to be going down to 3 days a week, which is kind of unheard of for teachers. And it was really great that the school I worked at was willing to allow me to do that, because I just knew in my heart already, even though that baby wasn't, actually in my arms yet, that I just didn't want to be away from her 5 days a week. And of course, it was never just 8-hour days. I would a lot of times get to the school about an hour early to prep, and then a lot of days I would stay an hour after work, grading papers, just reorganizing, getting things prepped for the next school day. And then a lot of times too, I would take home papers and grade. I would enter in my lesson plans online. There was a lot of additional hours. And of course, there was science night. There was back to school night. There were parent-teacher conferences. It was much more than just your 40 hours. So with that, I just knew that I didn't want to go back full-time, and I at least wanted to have 2 days a week where I was going to be able to be at home. But I had grown up with lots of nieces and nephews. I babysat in college. I was now a teacher. I felt like I had had a lot of experience with kids, but literally nothing prepares you for being a parent. And it is the biggest life change. It was actually much more life-changing than getting married and getting used to living with somebody new. That transition for me, like I said, nothing can prepare you for that. It's life-changing in the best way possible, but you just don't know how you're gonna feel until you're in that position. And I just wanna say that what was important to me, it looks different for other people. So other people want to go back to work full-time. They need to go back, and they need to be using themselves in that different way. And also they need the financial stability. And for us, we did need the financial part, but at the same time, because I was a teacher, that looked a lot different. And I knew that when I decided to focus on elementary education in college. I knew that teachers, you don't go into it because you're going to make a lot of money, okay? I'm fully aware of that. You go into it for a lot of intrinsic reasons, and because you sincerely love and are passionate about the career. And that's really how I felt. I loved my students. Where I taught was very rough, and my kiddos came to school to feel safe and loved, and honestly to eat. And there was a lot of guilt around thinking about not returning to the school, but at the same time, I did have a family now. I mean, I had a family before having my first daughter, but it also changes the dynamic, and you have to think about finances and if what you're doing is responsible once you've brought this new person into the world. And we had talked about the fact that I, first of all, was not going to be going back full time. And the school also said that they would hold my spot, essentially my job. So if I wanted to take, I had her in October, if I wanted to take the rest of the year off, I could have, and they would have held my position. But I had originally planned on at least going back part-time hours. But when I held that little baby in my arms in the hospital, there was nothing that could prepare me for how I was gonna feel. And like I said, some people, I think, especially after having a child, and it is such an adjustment, there's a lot of people who are like, okay, I'm ready to get back to work. I'm ready for that routine, and I love my baby, but I need that other part of my life. That is okay too. Everybody is entitled to doing what is best for them and their family. But for me, in the situation that I was in, it not only financially didn't make sense, but I also just didn't want to leave her. And so I decided not to return back to teaching, and they did have the consistency of that other co-teacher, but it was a really hard decision, and it wasn't something that I took lightly. Like I said, I felt a lot of guilt around the decision. I did go back and visit them a few times, but I had to put my family and my daughter and our financial situation first. So I did take about 8 months to adjust to motherhood. And in the summer of 2018, I started to feel that pull where I had always wanted to be a mom. And I was loving that role, that title. And I will say though, I felt a pull in a different direction. Of course, I still wanted to focus on raising my daughter, and I didn't regret not returning to the classroom, but I did want to use myself, my mind, my creativity, to be totally honest, my passion for making money in a different way. And I say that laughingly about my passion for making money because I enjoyed working, I love teaching, but like I said, not a real money maker. So I did want to support our family financially. And my husband talked about, we could live on less, we could downsize our home, we could change what our vacations look like. We didn't have to take a week-long vacations. We didn't have to fly. Some of those things are absolutely luxuries in life. And I never had this, of course, large salary, but it did help us. And so I really wanted to take some of that burden off of my husband. And I just felt for him because that's a heavy burden to carry. And, I just knew too that it would make us more comfortable, and it would be paying for some of the other things that are honestly probably non-essentials, but things that actually make life really enjoyable, like being able to pay a babysitter so that we could go out on a date night. We don't have my in-laws or my parents that live close by where we can just ask a grandparent. So we needed to pay a sitter, and that gets expensive. And we wanted to be able to go out to eat. Like I mentioned, vacations. We wanted to be able to take family vacations, and we didn't need to be traveling the world, but just being able to fly to Florida because we did have a baby. To be totally honest and selfish, we didn't want to drive. I totally understand that those are things that are luxuries in life, but that was the whole thing, is we wanted to be able to afford those things. And so that's when I decided to start looking for work from home options. And I had a friend from college who told me about her sister-in-law. So there was this connection, and she introduced me essentially to freelancing. This term freelancing was essentially something I had never really heard or thought of. I was very programmed to, you go to college, you get a 9-to-5, what would definitely be the more traditional route. And that's what I did. And so this was a new concept to me. And when people would say they were self-employed, I would think, okay, how does that work? How do you just pay yourself? Where does this money come from? How do you choose what hours you want to work and how much you get to work? It clearly was a very foreign concept to me. And so I started researching. I joined a Facebook group that was about freelancing. That was actually a little overwhelming as well because it still was so new to me. But once I started to actually educate myself, and I essentially watched a training video on freelancing, I decided then to enroll in this course. And if you want to check out this freelancing course, I do have an affiliate link. She's still, the person that I took the course from, she still sells this freelancing course, and it's amazing. It really was pivotal in me making this shift. So I am a huge fan of her and her course. Her name is Michaela Quinn, and she's still selling this freelance course, and it's been updated so many times over the years, but it was phenomenal. But it was more of an overview of freelancing and starting your service-based business. So one thing that really helped me when I was looking into different work from home options, I had to decide what was an alignment for me. So I had actually bought a DSLR camera, which is what I'm using right now. It's funny how it's come full circle to shoot this YouTube video, but I dabbled with photography. I actually bought a course that was about Adobe and Photoshop and utilizing those. I started editing images, taking 5 million pictures of my daughter. I was a mamarazzi trying to use her as my model and decided to not go that route because with photography, a lot of evening, weekend shoots, plus as I was doing photo editing, I didn't really enjoy it. So I'm like, okay, now I have this $700 camera, fantastic. I think I spent maybe $100 on the course. And then I started looking into teaching English online. I don't remember if you ever, or if you have heard of, or if you remember VIP Kids, but that was something that I looked into, and I actually started going through the application process. But as I was going through the process, I learned that you're gonna be working different hours because you're gonna be teaching kiddos in China. I was gonna have to essentially have like a backdrop and a little classroom. Ultimately, I just knew that it wasn't going to fulfill what I really needed it to fulfill in order to find something that I loved and also provided our family income, and also worked with me being a stay-at-home mom. I was gonna be working specific hours, and that was just part of it because of when the kids are awake in a different country. So I decided to not go that route, scratch that. Then I was like, okay, I'm gonna look into this freelancing thing. And what felt so right to me about it is my personality type. If you're familiar with the Enneagram test, I am the helper. I am an Enneagram 2. And I loved the idea of not pushing something on people that they may or may not want, or selling products, but the fact that you're essentially, as a freelancer, you are selling your services, but it feels different because there's a need. Business owners need contractors. They need copywriters. They need website designers. They need social media managers. They need Pinterest managers. And through taking this freelance course, I felt this click, this alignment where I'm so excited about this. This feels right to me. I feel like I can put my energy into this and give 100% and be committed because it's something that I know in my heart is right for me. And I was exactly right. So I took the course, I became a virtual assistant, and I really learned through that course that one way to scale your service-based business is to really niche down and become an expert at one thing. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna focus on social media management. I know Instagram, I know Facebook. I'm not super intimidated by those. I use them a lot, I post on them a lot. I can figure out this social media management game. And I did start landing social media management clients. And after about a year, so from, I would say early fall of 2018 to June of 2019, I was so burnt out on social media management. I didn't want to like another picture. I didn't want to respond to another comment. I was so tired of answering DMs, and it came with the territory. I also found it very hard to take on a brand's voice and write captions, and it just didn't fulfill me or light me up in the way that I wanted this service-based business, how I wanted to feel offering it. And so that's around the time where I'm thinking, okay, am I going back to square one? Because maybe freelancing, I love the idea and offering a service, and that part does feel very right to me, but I don't like social media management. I don't know what other services I'm interested in. However, I knew that Pinterest management was something that you could offer, but I had no idea where to learn this specific service. So around that time, I had a client ask me, I had been doing her social media management. She was deciding to pivot with her contractors and what she was paying people to do within her business. And she asked me to look into Pinterest because it had been something that was in the back of her mind. So we had this deal. It was actually a really good deal. She was paying me $200 a month to figure out Pinterest for her business. And I just have to say that it's so important to listen to that intuition, because one thing I didn't mention when I first started my freelance business, because this was kind of more of an overview of freelancing and the different services you could offer, there was a little bit of skills training in specific areas. I didn't feel confident in offering Pinterest services because of the minimal skills training that included, but I learned that that was something that you could offer through that course. But I just didn't know where to go, who to learn from that was actually going to help me feel confident in offering the service and positioning myself as an expert. So I actually did know about it multiple months prior, but I just didn't know really where to go to learn that service. And so I honestly went with what felt like more of the safe or comfortable route. So essentially in 2019, that summer, I decided to totally pivot. I let go of all of my virtual assistant clients, all of my social media management clients. I essentially was restarting my business, and I decided to solely focus on Pinterest. And this is the part where Pinterest changed my life. Especially with things going crazy in the world, I put my head down on Pinterest from June of 2019 to now. But the thing that was so crazy was that I let go of all these clients. I essentially was restarting my business to a certain extent. And the world kind of went crazy, obviously, in 2020, and Pinterest exploded. And that meant that my service-based business exploded. I became way overbooked. I kept having people come to me. I was building case studies. I increased my prices, and I finally hit my first 5K month, so $5,000 in a month as a freelancer. And at one point in time, I thought that I would have laughed at you if you would have told me that, hey, Emily, you can make $5,000 a month as a freelancer. I had never thought that that would be possible or even realistic, to be totally honest. It was never about hitting a specific amount. I say that, but I did want to replace my teaching income, which was $1,800 a month. But once I did that very quickly, I was super content. So in 2020, when things started taking off, I decided to lean into this, and I scaled my services. And in 2021, I actually hit my first 10K month. And then I started creating digital courses and products to serve business owners, which helped me continue to scale my business. So as I've continued to pivot and shift, Pinterest has been this platform that has been so sustainable, whether it be clients, selling courses. Now I coach and I teach other people how to start their Pinterest management business. I never thought I would ever want to coach. My husband actually at one point, I think this was in, I think it was in maybe 2023. So last year, which feels like a long time ago. I want to say it was maybe late winter, early spring. My husband, we were in the kitchen, I was making dinner, and he just said, do you think you'd ever want to go the business coaching route? And I was like, no, definitely not interested in that. And that's what I'm doing now. I am coaching people into helping them start their Pinterest management business. And it's essentially what I wished I would have had in 2018 when I was looking into different services and things I could offer, but wasn't really sure where to go to learn Pinterest and learn all the ins and the outs. That's what I've created in my Pinterest Manager Academy. So whether I was working as a service provider and freelancing as a Pinterest manager, whether I was a course creator and teaching other businesses how to thrive and turn their traffic into profit, and now helping other people transform their life through literally changing careers. I'm helping teachers, nurses, people who are already virtual assistants niched down to Pinterest. They are making this their career. Pinterest has been there for me. It has, and I know that sounds so corny, but it really has. And it's been this platform where, I was so passionate about it and I just loved it as a user. And all I had to go off of when I decided to focus on Pinterest management was the fact that I did love it. And it was inspirational, positive, something I had used to plan big life moments for myself, such as my wedding, my baby nursery, my classroom. And it felt so right to me to have the service-based business model, to be working on this platform that was positive. It did not feel life-sucking, so to put it. And I don't want to diss people who are social media managers. You are amazing, and that is an important job. It just wasn't for me. So Pinterest management, I love too that I could be creative and I was kind of in my own world. And also too, that the hours worked for me where I didn't have to be online engaging or doing certain things at certain times of the day. Yes, I had contracts in place and things I needed to get done on a monthly and weekly basis, but I was really able to do it when it was convenient for me. And so that was huge. So like I said, I started offering Pinterest services with a very humble $200 package. Went to $350, then to $1,000, $1,500. Now I have an academy and this space where I'm coaching people. So Pinterest continues to essentially be my source of income, and it has truly been life-changing. So no matter what you are looking for, whether you are a business owner, you want to become a Pinterest manager, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments what side of my audience you're in, business owner, want to become a Pinterest manager. I would love to help you. I have a free training on how to become a Pinterest manager and a guide if you'd like to check those out. If you're a business owner and you want to hire a Pinterest manager, I have a hire form and I can connect you to my amazing community of Pinterest managers. I also have a course called Pinterest Marketing Magic if you want to take the DIY route with learning Pinterest. So let me know in the comments how I can support you, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Can't wait to see you soon in next week's episode. Bye for now.